One thing about Jaimi and the $1 million secret is that she's going to speak her mind and she's going to tell the truth. And that's what got her in trouble. She couldn't lie to save her life. And that's one of the key reasons she got sent home. She kept telling the truth and she kept incriminating herself. And on top of that, it's very clear that she wasn't that popular in the house. So she made a very easy scapegoat. And I think she would have ended up being voted out. That was just her destiny. After the whole thing with Lauren, people were feeling some type of way and they were always going to vote her out. And what was the final nail in the coffin, the perfect ammunition for them to vote her out, was this whole sisters thing. Sam got a clue that the millionaire had two sisters. So Sam's going around asking all this information and, I feel like Jaimi was just in her own world and she wasn't really thinking about, should I be telling the truth about my personal information? And we know, being on the show, we're quite late in the show at this point. There was like two episodes left. She knows at this point that they're giving out personal information about the millionaire as clues. So at this point, maybe the first episode or two might have slipped up, but at this point, any sort of personal information I'm lying about. Information that I haven't disclosed yet. You got to keep up on what you said, but any information that I haven't disclosed yet, I'm lying about. Because I've seen how the game goes. You say something and it might not even be you, but because that information matches you, now you're on the chopping block. And the exact same thing happened to her in the last batch of episodes. So I'm just like, why would you not lie again? But at this point, she had already stitched herself up. It's not even like it was in this episode that she said that she had two sisters. She had already stitched herself up. But I feel like from the first low-key stitch up and exoneration, I would have had my guard up. But like I said, Jaimi just seemed to be in her own world. And I feel like maybe she kind of just, knew what was up in terms of the popularity contest. So she just didn't really give a fuck. But I feel like she still could have been strategic. But she's dug herself in with the two sisters. But she's not the only one who has two sisters or who has admitted to having two sisters. Another one that doesn't know when to lie is Corey. He admitted that he has two sisters. He tried to change his story and be like, well, it's two half sisters, it's not two full sisters. Like, come on, you still qualify. But it was a popularity contest at this point. They liked Corey, they didn't like Jaimi, and Jaimi was the one to go. She barely had any allies left. Sydney basically threw her under the bus at the round table. I believe Sydney actually didn't vote for her. I think they were planning to, say that they were going to vote for Jaimi and then hope that people voted for other people, but they didn't coordinate that properly. So even Sydney throwing her under the bus, even though I guess it was a thing where, she was going to say she was going to vote for Jaimi, but she actually didn't, that still creates bad PR for Jaimi. And again, people don't really like her. So if everybody around the table was saying that they're going to vote for Jaimi, of course, everybody's now going to vote for Jaimi because nobody wants to go home. Jaimi's the easy scapegoat. So Jaimi left. So yeah, I think her being honest and not knowing when to lie did her in. But I think ultimately it was the popularity thing. And the popularity contest came into play. And I think around halfway, it was very obvious that popularity was going to be a factor in who wins. And it did end up being that case. So after the whole Lauren situation, Jaimi's PR was down, her popularity was down. And then also her allies were out of there. She only had Sydney left, Chris went. But to be fair to Jaimi, she stuck to her alliance to the very end. Unfortunately, she just didn't really have anyone to look out for her. And like I said, she did herself in with that Lauren argument. And I think, for the next season, if it gets renewed, which I hope it does, people just need to be a bit more mindful in terms of getting into arguments. Like I've said in my past videos, I really don't think the Lauren situation was that big of a deal. I feel like the flack that she's caught for that has been way too much. But in the game, you definitely have to be mindful of what you say, how you treat people, and you definitely have to rely on popularity. And that was a fundamental factor in who won a popularity contest. So yes, be strategic and things like that, but a lot of the time, people are bark and no bite, and they will save people that they like. And unfortunately, Jaimi was unlikable. And I feel like that didn't do her any favors. And then on top of not knowing when to lie, didn't do her any favors. I would have, if she did win, I would have been impressed, but I kind of knew she was probably going to be one of the next ones to go. I knew that she was going to get voted out. But I got to hear from you guys. Where did Jaimi's gameplay go wrong? Do you feel like she pretty much fumbled her game after the whole Lauren situation? Or do you feel like it's the fact that she kept telling the truth and not knowing when to lie, like everybody else? Because everybody else knew when to lie, honey. I got to hear from you guys.